It's Banks again with PLXOutdoors. Today is Thursday, January 13th. I'm in the parking lot again, going to a new spot I have not gone to yet. So I'm going to go do some scouting and then do a quick setup for evening sit. I've been seeing deer, but just not the right ones, and small bucks, it just does. So still waiting for that nice buck to come out. Hopefully I get a shot. Basically, this is video number 5. So this is the part 2 for the Q&A quickie for Tommy and Uncle Steve. Just want to answer some questions. Maybe it can pertain to you guys, and you guys can help or use these tips to help you guys out. We'll just jump right into it. Okay, guys. So Tommy from Missouri asked, how do you use OnX to pre-plan the night before? He says that he uses it as a tracker but does not know how to use it as a tool. And so for me, I use OnX Maps, and that's what I use for all my mapping and tracking. So basically here on the laptop you have your map layers, offline maps, your content, and then your account settings. Basically your layers will show you your private lands, government lands, and forest cuttings. There's a lot more layers to each state depending on what kind of clearing and also management they do on that land. For offline maps, this is where if where you're hunting you don't have signal, then you would download these maps and then you can use it via satellite, and that way when you don't have signal you won't get lost. Moving over, you have your 3 different types of maps: satellite, hybrid, and the topography. There's also a 3D map. Down here you can use your location bar on the bottom right. That just tells you exactly where you're at, your GPS. Zooming in, zooming out, your compass here, north is up, south is down. And then the top right here you have your tools, which is drawing lines and measuring distances. The second one is drawing a shape or a measurement of an area. The third is adding a waypoint, and then also you can add a photo waypoint. So if we'll just go ahead and jump into this is a mountain that I picked up in New Mexico. This is just a sample map. So basically right now we're looking at the satellite image of this, and so I picked this mountain right here. I left a few waypoints, and so if we go to the topography maps, it'll show here is the top of the mountain, and then as you can see these topography lines go down. So this would be the highest top or the peak of the mountain, and then these would be all the lines dropping in elevation towards the lower elevation. So the tighter the lines are, the steeper they are, like right here. And then say on this north side of the face, the wider they are, it's a little bit more gradual and more flat. So with OnX, then you really want to point out the benches, points, flat tops, any bottoms, valleys. You want to look for steep faces and some that are not so steep, and also check the degree of the slopes. You can use the satellite pictures to see what brush, what kind of trees there are, if there are any meadows, clear cuts, and also all different types of trees and brush. With the benches, they would look something like this right here, where the tight lines are sloping down and they're very tight, and then they gradually get a little bit wider and then they get tight again. So this would mean this is steep, then it gets less steep, and then it gets steep again. And as you can see with this saddle, it wraps around this side of the mountain right here. So this would be a good spot to check out for me. I would like to check out something like that for sure. For points would be something like this. It would be like a finger running out like so. Also up here there's one finger right here, and a long skinny finger this way. So these are what we call points, and that's usually for whitetails, that's usually where they like to bed up on, higher, and then being able to get the thermals and wind in their favor. And they're also being able to look down to the lower elevation to see if there's any danger coming up. Bottoms would be like this valley right here. As you can see in this topography map, everything slowly falls down into this right here. And then as you can see, there's a creek, this blue marking right here. These are all creeks right here. These are all your drainages and your valleys, the bottoms of them. And that's usually where you'll find the running water. This next point, we'll talk about looking for steep faces, flat areas, and the slope of the topography. So as you can see here, this is very steep because the lines are very tight together. And then as soon as you come up here, this is a lot flatter. So this would be a little flat area, a little bench above all this steep areas right here. And you can tell that the lines are very tight going all the way up to the top of this mountain. And then up here it's flat. So this would be the top of the mountain right here. So going to the satellite map, you can see different things such as the pine thickets, like so, this dark area right here. There's a few grasslands and meadows. And if I zoom out, you can see here that this is a big stretch of maybe grasslands right here. So really the deer or elk could be feeding in these areas and then going back into these dark areas to feed. That's what I typically look for. And then a lot has been proven from hunting corners and edges, saying that this is a corner right here and it turns, and then this edge comes up here and it turns this way. So these two spots here would be potentially pretty good, and then it leads to more grass and cutovers. So looking at this satellite map, you can kind of see what different types of trees, grasses, rocks, like here would be different features like rock walls right here. And then this would all be all the fallen rock. Here's a little pasture, meadow, and then here it looks maybe like aspens and maybe pine trees mixed in. And then if you can get this looks like a big cutover. You see all these little toothpick looking things. These would be areas where they probably logged all these trees down just to create more habitat, or also maybe a big storm came through and blew all these trees over. One big tip is finding where all the different types of topography comes together, such as this one right here. There's a trail right here, but also there's this pasture meadow area, and then there's a ridge that runs down this valley right here. There's pine trees with bedding in here, and also out to this side there's more sparse trees, looks like pine trees. So this would be a pretty good area to check out. But if there's a lot of pressure here, maybe try to find something similar like this where there's many escape routes and then pasture area or meadow, but just less human traffic. That's usually the ticket. I'll try to zoom out and find a meadow that's further away from the trails, such as this one right here. You can see this is a small meadow right here with thick trees all around. Looks like pine trees again. And then maybe down here there's more aspens, but it's a little bit more open. This would be a pretty good feeding area for them. And then really they could be bedding anywhere all along inside of all this. So hunting in the mountains like this, or just even hilly country, you really have to take into account the wind here. I'll go back to the topographical maps, and then saying if you're wanting to sit on this blue slope right here, say for instance it was a south wind coming into this right here, this little saddle right here could also deter the wind from coming exactly south. So it could wrap around and then circle right here. That would be a pretty tricky spot to sit. You'd have to see what the thermals are doing that morning or evening and then hunt it from there. But going there day or evening would be best, just to see exactly what the winds are doing. Just because they forecasted south or southwest wind doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what's going to happen. You have a lot of trees, the mountain faces here. Everything's going to break up the wind a little bit. And so on this back side, this would be the leeward side right here, where this is the top of the mountain, and this is the northeast face with a south wind coming up. This would be this leeward area right here, all this right here. And usually the wind will swirl and tumble in here, and that's why where our best luck has been on these leeward hills. The deer and elk will be able to smell any danger or any of the does and cows coming into heat, and they normally like to travel these areas and also use them for bedding. So Uncle Steve asked here, how do you read the land to pick up a tree or to pick a tree for a rifle stand? Also, we usually try to predict their escape routes when pressured using OnX. So with the rifle, you have to remember you have the extended range where you're able to shoot a couple hundred yards over to 500-600 yards, depending how confident you are. So really, you want a spot that can cover a lot of area. You want a good vantage and also good cover, but also try to stay near the food and bedding areas. Here I selected a little example spot to give Uncle Steve an idea. I going back to satellite here. So here I marked this yellow bar, meaning this is the meadow right here. And then I would hunt facing into this meadow, and also you can see there's dark trees along both sides here, and on the back side right here looks like rock bluffs. So hunting here would mean shooting out to here, but then also they could be behind you in the bedding, and then maybe two guys or one guy could sit on this face here, and then also on this far face over here. It looks like the animals would travel through here, but also be bedded on through here. Going to the topographical map, so there's a high point right here, and then the meadow would be right here. So sitting up on here and being able to shoot all of this right here and seeing into these little drainages right here. So basically, looking at your surrounding areas, what's all around you in your bubble here, say a 500-yard bubble, see where the animals will go to when they're pressured. Going back to the satellite picture, usually when the animals are pressured, they'll go to the dense and thick vegetation, and that might be one thing to really consider too, is to just dive into there and then slowly walk, just spot and stalk in there and pretty much go where other guys aren't willing to go. We find that many guys don't want to go into this thick, nasty stuff. So if you really are motivated, that's where you would go. That's where they would be bedded majority of the time. And then if not, just have different spots too. Try to have at least 4 to 5 different spots, just in case the winds change. You can just hop and move to the next area if things don't plan out as you thought they would. Just having multiple spots is a good option, especially on public land where we don't know who's coming in, who's going out. That'll just help with your success rate. So hopefully you guys can use these tips on OnX to help you be more successful. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot of layers that you can use for private public land, trails, getting lost in the dark. I know I've used it to save my butt many times, especially when your flashlights die out. There's always many things to look at in different states, and also a lot of the public land shows water tanks, water holes, so that's really useful. And again, like the last video, the biggest key is really just to e-scout and then put your boots on the ground. That's the biggest thing that will really help you determine what's good and what's not, and that way you can just check it off your list and then move on to the better spots. Also, just getting out there, going out to sit for just a couple hours or a few hours. It'll really give you a lot of intel what the deer or animals are doing, which trails they're using, and just kind of help you narrow things down a little bit so you're not guessing all the time. And then also seeing the animal's point of view, that's very important. Seeing why they're there, what cover they're using, and why it's better than another spot. Maybe one spot has better wind for them, or maybe the wind circles, and that's really why they're there, just to have that safety net for them, just because they can smell really well and we can't. All right, guys, so I'm finishing up here. I'm gonna go scout a little bit this new area, and hopefully it'll produce something tonight. Just want to wish you guys good luck and be safe out there. Don't forget to share and like this video or all the videos with your friends and family, and participate in our Patreon page. Everything will be very much appreciated. So anyways, guys, good luck, and I'll see you guys out there. Thanks.